All right, welcome everyone. We are doing a joint hearing this afternoon with both House Government Operations and Military Affairs and Senate Government Operations Committee. I'd like to start off just by allowing member committees to introduce themselves for the public. I'll start with myself, Representative Matt Byrong. I represent Northwest Addison County, and I chair the House Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs. And I'm joined by
Brian Collmore, representing the whole Rutland County area in the Senate.
Representative Lisa Hango, Franklin 5. I am Vice Chair of the House Government Operations and Military Affairs Committee and also a co-chair of the National Guard and Veterans Affairs Caucus.
Sandy Pincenalt. I represent Dorset, DMB, Mount Tabor, Land Grove, and Peru. I'm a survivor. My husband was a 30-year Army reservist who passed away due to burn pit exposure. And I serve on the House Government Ops and Military.
We heard that there was someone with hearing needs, so we were asked to use the microphone, so I guess I'll start that trend. I'm Senator Rebecca White, and I represent the Windsor County District.
Hello, I'm B.L. Coffin. I represent Cavendish, Weathersfield, Baltimore, Windsor 2. I'm also a veteran. I retired from the Vermont National Guard in 2017, and I'm glad you folks could make it here.
And welcome, lovely to have you here on this glorious day. Allison Parkson, Windsor County District Senator, Chair of Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs, and I serve on Senate Government Operations.
Representative Michael Morgan, represent all of Grand Isle County and the western corner of Milton. I'm on the Government Operations Military Affairs Committee, and 38 years in the military. I was going to make it a career, but they kicked me out because I got too old. So, but anyway, I'll kidding aside, glad to have you all here.
Senator Tanya Mahowski, I represent the Chittenden Central District, and I'm Vice Chair of the Senate Government Operations Committee.
Kate Nugent, representative from South Burlington, and I'm on the Government Operations team.
I'm Lucy Boyden. I represent Cambridge and Waterville, which is 103. I'm on the House Government Operations and Military Affairs Committee.
Hello, I'm Shay Waters Evans. I'm the representative from Charlotte. I also represent part of Ironspring, and I'm on the House Gov Ops Committee.
Representative Mary Capston, Burlington House Government Operations Military Affairs Committee, and one of the co-chairs of the Veterans Affairs National Guard Caucus.
All right, so I'd like to start off just by thanking everyone who showed up today to participate with us. The service that you provided to the country and the citizens of the United States and the state of Vermont is greatly appreciated. We have a smaller number of people who have joined us here in person and online. We understand that often the veteran population is a little reluctant to come out and speak to issues that they may be experiencing or the help or services that they may be looking for or need. And that can be often uncomfortable for folks. Really do appreciate you coming out and seeing us and speaking with us publicly. We are working on a survey to send out, and we're going to do that through our constituent group networks, hoping that we can receive more feedback from a broader population of veterans throughout the state. So for those of you who are here with us today, if you could just keep an eye out for that and help us pass it along, that would be really appreciated. So the protocol for this next hour is we will call you up. I will call you up one at a time. You'll sit here with us, and we're going to give everyone 4 minutes to speak. The nature of this is it's just about hearing what you want to share with us. So there won't be any type of Q&A or exchange from the members. This is just about receiving feedback from you folks. Now, should we at the committee level feel the need to follow up with you folks, we will do so, ask you to come in to our committees for more formal engaged testimony. And so with that, if you have any other questions or other feedback after the fact, you can contact the committee assistants or just email any of us within the committee jurisdiction to follow up and share more should you think of something later on. Any questions from anyone before we call up the first participant? No? All right. Well, let's start off with Frank Weatherby.
Hearing problems.
You want him to have that, like.
It's like,
If there are hearing issues, we should have a mic with the witness.
Thank you.
Perfect, Frank.
Thank you. Thank you for holding this hearing on a topic that's very important to me. My name is Frank Weatherby. I served in the United States Army for 20 years, retiring with the rank of first sergeant. I served 3 years in Vietnam and 1 year in Cambodia. I appear before this legislative body as a resident of the Vermont home. Just after the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln said, quote, "To care for him that is born the battle, his widow and his orphans," end quote. In 1884, the state of Vermont founded the Vermont Veterans Home. The Vermont Veterans Home has been keeping the promise made by President Lincoln ever since. My degree is in organizational behavior. It's my personal observation that the Veterans Home is one of the more highly performing organizations that I've seen. The entire staff is focused on veterans, and they care enough to make a difference in the quality of life of the former members of the armed forces. Whether you're a nurse, a housekeeper, a laundry worker, a maintenance worker, or a food service employee, all are focused on the care and well-being of veterans. When asked what it's like to live at the Vermont Veterans Home, I've often said that the home is a little piece of heaven in Bennington, Vermont. However, as a state of entity, there are costs to enable this facility to run effectively and efficiently. I strongly urge the members of this legislative body to keep this facility fully funded to enable the continuity of operation as being in the best interest of Vermont veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you very much. Yeah, we really appreciate those words, sir. Next up, we have Felicia Ward, and she's joining us remotely. And then after that, we have Paul Wheaton, who will join us in person. Well. Hi, Felicia, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Felicia Ward. I am a United States Army veteran. And I am deeply concerned about the challenges that veterans face in securing safe, affordable housing, accessing vital support services within the state of Vermont, the income requirements placed for any type of assistance, access to community health care, recent budget cuts, and taxation for benefits, as well as property taxes. As we all know, housing seems to be a significant issue around the state, actually across the country. There seems to be difficulties and shortages, as well as the fact that there's a issue related to housing available with persons with disabilities such as myself. There's limited availability of housing. There are also significant requirements that differ from that. The fact that a veteran has to pay property taxes in the state of Vermont, which I firmly disagree. I don't believe any veteran should pay taxes in any form. However, it seems to be a huge barrier in owning property. The fact that your retirement is taxed in the state of Vermont, unlike, I believe there's only 3 other states in which that do that, or there may be only 2, that still require veterans to pay taxes. The homelessness issue with veterans is a significant one for me that I myself have personally experienced. The issue that I found within that was a huge barrier that you increase the amount of veterans' income, but no one ever considers their debt. So your income to debt ratio is never considered, which excludes you from a ton of services, to include SSDF and other state and federal programs, because there are income requirements. If you make too much money, you don't qualify for anything, which places you quite in a conundrum. You couldn't afford to get housing. You couldn't afford the exacerbated cost of hotels. You couldn't afford any of those because you may have looked on paper as though you had an increased amount of income. I also had a substantial amount of debt, which precluded me from obtaining any type of housing. The other issue is currently trying to be able to decide, despite the fact that I am 100% service connected, I am still being required to pay for some of my community-based services, as well as my own medical expenses and any type of pharmaceuticals that I require, all contributing and leading to additional barriers for me to be able to sustain buying a home or renting a home due to the amount of increase in the cost in the past 2 years. So I thank you very much for allowing me to provide this testimony, and I sincerely hope that you would consider changing some of the regulatory guidelines within the state of Vermont.
Thank you, Felicia. We really appreciate that. And I know you and I have spoken in the past, so your input and insights are always greatly appreciated. Next, you have Paul Welton. Sorry about the reading of your name before. And after that, we have Peter Lensack.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Welton.
Mike, and there's a button.
Here is.
It's on.
I turned it off.
My name is Paul Welton, 30-year veteran of the United States Navy, both active and reserve. I also parallel my Navy reserve duty was being the United States Marshal, and I was stationed in Rutland. I would first like to start and say that Rutland County is very fortunate to have 3 outstanding men and other people, but 3 that I deal with: Senator Dave Weeks, Captain of the United States Navy; Terry Williams, Colonel of the United States Army; and Brian Collmore. Mr. Collmore has a distinct privilege of being raised by a mother who was a United States Marine drill sergeant. True. I can't imagine. My service started in the late 70s. I was with the Marshal Service. I finished up part of the special prosecutor staff during the Watergate and Ellsberg investigations. I was then on my honeymoon in June of 1975, received a text that I was transferred to the Strategic Air Command, 341st Missile Wing in Great Falls, Montana, to do nuclear security. And this June will be 50 years with this lovely lady behind me. So there I got the bug to be in the military, join the Navy. and I rose up through the ranks. Most of my work, I did a lot of work with Caribbean Drug Task Force, shout out to SEAL Team 2, out of Viegas, Key West, Roosevelt Roads. We dealt mostly with the Medellin Cali cartel. Other assignments throughout, some of the best ones where I was Chief Master on the Comfort hospital ship was deployed to the Baltics during the Russian and Czech War. Sound familiar? And then other assignments throughout my time. My worst assignment was I was a cable officer. Anybody know what a cable officer is?
Yes. Yeah, medical assistance.
We knocked on the door.
Oh,
That was difficult at times. The reserves, the National Guard, the active duty military are one team. That's not the way they started. They are one team. No one cares where you came from, if you're sharing a foxhole or standing on a watch on a ship. The veterans today coming out are highly trained, educated, and motivated. Vermont needs to take advantage of these people. When you process out, and it happened to me, when you sit at the desk, they take a binder and they flip it open. And part of the debriefing is these states offer you financial incentives. Don't tax your pension. And then you finish it. They flip it over to the back page, and these states don't offer you the financial protection. Vermont is on the second page. That needs to stop. We need these people to come here. They're good, hardworking, educated, trained, and they can pass the drug test. So I just can't say enough about the work that my three senators have done. They are coachable, and they set the gold standard for us. I certainly hope that the House and the Senate will pass a bill addressing the inequities of the retirement bill. Please also, in your own way, support our wonderful VA hospital in White Road Junction. It is outstanding. I got 14 seconds left. So we have all done good things for my country, and I've had many jobs. But I will tell you this, the toughest job in the United States Navy is the Navy wife.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And next we have Peter Ledensack, followed up by Bruce Roy.
I get about 30 seconds, I'll do the 3.5. Want? Try it.
I'm done, shouldn't I?
I have really good eyesight and really bad hearing, so I'm not gonna use that because it drives me up the wall, the echo. This is my relation. He's one of the most decorated soldiers in Vietnam. I'm gonna get some recognition down the road. That'll come out later. My concern is family time is the most important of all times. I did 28 years, 6 months at 17 days, and they kicked me out medically. Simple economics finds the homeless, unhoused, taxed, and leaving the state. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to keep this really simple. Some military veterans will be taxed 3 times because they went into the Guard at 20 years old or 19 years old. They went full-time. By 37 or 38, they've already left. They've gone to Homeland Security. They have another retirement, and then they get Social Security, and all 3 of those in the state are taxed. That's wrong. This doesn't affect me. I was retired medically on the Army side at 90%. The VA is 265%. I get combat-related special compensation at 90%. I don't get taxed, so it doesn't affect me. I'm staying in this state because I love it. We are citizen soldiers first and foremost. Yeah. Can I finish it for you? Tell me where I need to pick it up, shouldn't it? I got it. You got it. We're losing a lot of families. Less than 1% serve. Less than 1% of 600,000 isn't very much. you're losing lawyers, you're losing people in the military, because from soldiers and the National Guard and the Reserve bring a lot of different jobs to the table. So we're the blue collar workers of the military, and the active duty are the unions. They know one job and they know how to do it really well. They have their place, we have ours. We come in and rebuild. The reason why you're seeing people with mental health issues is because Vermont forgot to worry about mental health before we started going overseas. There's a time and place for everything, and I will talk to anybody offline. The last thing I have to say is you're letting college grads leave the state. As long as they come back, who cares? I've been in the ski industry too. Sugarbush has it right. You can get a pass if you're a college student for next to nothing, because they know that they're going to have higher education. They might leave for a while as long as they come back. I'm going to draw one picture, and I'm going to draw the triangle. You have Montreal, you have New York City, and you have Boston, and then you have Vermont. Let's keep Vermont, Vermont. My parents moved us here in 1972. We moved here from Connecticut. My parents were from Boston. We moved here in search of a better life. We didn't bring the stuff that we left here. Let's work on that, because we can all get along, because Vermont is where it's at. We have a very small population. And if we can get the population to agree, then we've already done our jobs. I want the pendulum to go back in the middle. It's too far left and it's too far right. I want a short leash, and you can get that in Vermont. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next I have Bruce Roy. And then followed by Jenny Stevenson. Can you hear me? Button's got to flip the switch.
Yep.
There you go.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you today. Thank you for the invite. My name is Bruce Roy. I'm a retired Air Force colonel with 30 years total service, 25 of that as a proud member of the Green Mountain Boys with my friend Michael Morgan. The Vermont income tax exemption for military pensions is long overdue. Notably, Vermont is the only state in the Northeast to tax military pensions and survivor benefits, states we compete with on many levels. Military service members serve under very unique conditions, very unique circumstances. They and their families are told when, where, and for how long they're to be stationed. They cannot walk away from their commitment to serve, unlike other public servants. When they enlist, they take an oath and sign a contract, basically writing a blank check payable to Uncle Sam up to and including their life. It's volunteering with commitment to serve regardless of circumstances and fully aware of the consequences. Quitting is not an option once that right hand is raised and then lowered. Selfishly, for Vermont's future, we desperately need the men and women who retire from military service to return to and stay in Vermont. Military families come to Vermont ready and able to grow our skilled workforce, and just as importantly, bring their children to our schools. They fill in a demographic of trained professionals that is exiting our state. Military retirees and families enter Vermont as a trained and dedicated workforce and proven committed community members. So what can Vermont do? Well, you've started. 75 House representatives have signed on to sponsor H-43. 21 senators have signed on to sponsor S-17. Unless that level of sponsorship is just broad political maneuvering, passing this legislation should be a done deal. The return to Vermont on 3.9 of tax relief against a $9 billion budget and revenue plan is beyond obvious. There is a definite return on investment. The Joint Fiscal Office expects marginal growth of the 3.9 million over the next few years. I hope they're wrong. I hope that number grows appreciably, because that would mean success. It will mean more military members move to, return to, or stayed in Vermont, bringing their spending Vermont federal pensions with them. It will mean more 40 to 50-year-old trained military retirees started their second careers in Vermont, earning Vermont taxable income. As Governor Scott says, and many of us believe, Vermont doesn't need more taxes, we need more taxpayers. As a senior military commander with 25 years in the Vermont National Guard, I have seen firsthand the high-quality, hardworking attributes of career military men and women. They need to not only be rewarded for their dedication, but be incentivized to stay, work, and contribute to Vermont. I urge you as legislators, committee members, and chamber leadership to get these bills to the floor. Acknowledge now the value of Vermont military families and veterans and pay them the respect, not demanded by them, but rather earned by them. With a high level of bipartisan bill sponsorship, the votes must be there. It's a no-brainer, slam dunk, win-win for all. Respectively, I ask you to step up, like our veterans have, and do the right thing this session. Pass these bills. I thank you for your time today, and thank you all for your service to this great state.
Thank you, Bruce. Next, we have Jenny Stevenson. And then we're going to be followed by August Murray, and that'll be joining us remotely.
Good afternoon. Let's see. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Representative Byron and members of the committee. And thank you so much for giving more than 2 minutes because now I have to speak so fast. My name is Dr. Jennifer Stevenson. I manage the Office for Primary Prevention of Interpersonal Violence and Self-Harm in Vermont National Guard. Additionally, I'm a licensed occupational therapist and an Army officer with 22 years of service and counting. I thank you for the opportunity to discuss access to quality mental health care, a critical issue for our military community. Mental health care is a well-established protective factor against suicide and other forms of violence that disproportionately affect service members and veterans. Early, effective, and accessible mental health care builds resilience, it supports healthy relationships, and it equips service members with coping strategies before and hopefully in lieu of crisis. Unfortunately, significant barriers exist for service members to access mental health care. While TRICARE is intended to provide accessible health care, many providers don't accept it due to low reimbursement rates, administrative burdens, and slow claims processing. This often leaves TRICARE beneficiaries with limited or no local in-network options. While the VA or Vet Center may be an option for some, eligibility for service members isn't universal. Factors like length of service, time on active duty, discharge status, and income can restrict access. And this creates a dangerous gap in care. I've spoken directly with Vermont National Guard members and spouses who report calling dozens of providers only to find out they aren't accepting new TRICARE patients. Others face months-long wait lists, often leading to unaffordable out-of-network referrals. And in rural Vermont, the nearest in-network provider can be hours away. Even as a combat veteran myself, my own experience establishing care with the VA after moving to Vermont took more than 1 year. This isn't simply a healthcare issue. It's a readiness issue as well. Unaddressed mental health challenges impact a service member's ability to fully contribute to the mission and risk their long-term well-being by forcing them to navigate a complex and often unresponsive system. We must work together to improve access to mental health care for Vermont's military members and veterans. I welcome and encourage continued conversation with the committee on this vital issue. Thank you for your time and commitment to those who serve.
Very much. And next, joining us remotely is August Murray, and following that is Ryan Fischer.
Hello, I'm Dr. August Murray, and good afternoon, Chair and committee members, and especially our Windsor County delegation. I'm a retired U.S. Army colonel. I'm also a proud Vermonter and returned home after 33 years of service across the Army, the National Guard, and also the Coast Guard. This includes combat deployments in Desert Storm, Iraq, and Afghanistan. My final assignment was as Chief of Staff for the National Guard Bureau Joint Staff in Arlington, Virginia. I joined at the age of 17 as a young Vermonter, and I was raised with a strong sense of duty, like many Vermonters. When it came time to retire in 2021, we made the decision to come back home, and I did so knowing the challenges that veterans face here. Vermont is one of the last remaining states that fully taxes military retirement pay. And that alone drives many veterans away. States that provide tax relief and exempt pensions, they attract the very people that Vermont needs: skilled, community-minded, service-oriented citizens. Like many others have said today, veterans bring leadership, income, and experience, but we're losing them because they simply cannot afford to live here or stay here. And I ask you to please rally behind Governor Scott's calls to support our veterans and his efforts to attract a young workforce back to Vermont to revitalize our economy. So today I would urge you to please support legislation to make Vermont a place where veterans feel welcome. We've honored them in words, and so let's do so in policy. Let's send a clear message that Vermont values its veterans and wants them to stay. I want to thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to feedback from the public today.
Thank you for joining us, sir. Next up, Ryan Fischer. And that's going to be followed by Katherine Van Hayes remotely. Good to see you, Ryan. Great.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, chairpersons and members of the committee, thank you so much for your time today. My name is Ryan Fischer. I am an Air Force veteran, a third-generation airman, and a captain in the Air Force Reserve. But I'm here as a private citizen to speak about a very often overlooked healthcare issue that veterans and their families face, and that is access to dental care. Simply put, I'm not able to find dental care for my family in this state. There are few providers that are accepting new patients, and even fewer of them are accepting TRICARE. Now, one thing I learned in the military is you don't go to the boss with a problem and say, figure it out. You bring some solutions to the table. So I've got a few ideas that hopefully this can start a robust conversation about how to improve dental care access for veterans in this state. The first option that I'd like to bring up is writing in a statute that veterans and their dependents are a priority population when it comes to healthcare. This could be standalone or part of a larger bill. The precedence has already been set in Vermont when it comes to employment and hiring activities in Titles 3 and 20. In Minnesota, the precedent has been set for healthcare in their 2023 Veteran Omnibus Bill when it comes to mental health care for veterans. What this does is it enables veterans and their families to qualify for multiple state-funded services, not just dental, and it is a more enduring and concrete solution to help veterans and their families face issues that they deal with in their quality of life. Another option would be, I guess, a more targeted solution comes in the forms of grants. So I urge you to explore the opportunity and the options for working in partnership with the Vermont State Dental Society and the University of Detroit Mercy to identify the best way to expand access with the new clinic that's slated to come to Colchester in 2027. Specifically, an idea that I have is a mobile dental clinic that provides care throughout the state. What this does is it creates a win for all parties involved. It's increased capacity for the clinic. The dean of the school has said that there are plenty of enthusiastic candidates, but they just don't have the capacity to train them. It's an obvious win for our rural populations where it brings care closer to home. And it's also a win for these new dentists coming to Vermont. It gives them broad exposure to the state as a whole, to all the many small towns, villages that we have throughout the state, and not just in Chittenden County. But it gives them a chance to fall in love with this state, to decide, hey, I want to set down roots. And it's also really important because back in 2019, there was a figure that was stated that 26% of dentists in Vermont are over the age of 60 years old and looking at retirement. They need somebody to pass the torch to. So by bringing in and by increasing the exposure that these new dentists have to the state, what it does is it gives them the option to take over these clinics and ensures a continuity of care for these small communities that lasts well into the future. One thing I like about this is that it also increases the size of the pie for all Vermonters, especially the most vulnerable veterans included. Another measure I'd like to discuss is the possibility of a dental care voucher program. As everyone knows, we have very limited dental care options and dental insurance options when it comes to
life after service, unless you have a 100% service-connected disability or you serve for more than 20 years and retire with TRICARE for life. But it leaves many lower-income and rural veterans without access to dental care. Now, these vouchers could be used in private practices, which provides a big benefit for private practices because it's a straightforward reimbursement process. As you've heard, TRICARE is a lengthy and costly reimbursement process. And so what it does is it gives veterans more flexibility to choose a provider closer to home. It also opens the door for federal funds matching through Medicaid Section 1115 waivers. Multiple states have already done this. So anyways, I know I've gone over time, but thank you for your time. I appreciate your attention to this matter. And I just want to reemphasize that, our veterans represent the past, present, and the future of the state, and they deserve our support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Next, we have Katherine Van Hayes joining us remotely, and then after that, our final guest is Janet Kahn.
Hi to the committee. Good afternoon. Hopefully you can hear me okay. The sound check is fantastic. For the record, my name is Katherine Van Hayes, State Director for Senator Bernie Sanders. I really want to thank the committee for hearing this testimony today from Vermont veterans. I just wanted to join to echo the senator's support for the veterans in Vermont and share that we are more than happy to be a partner in programs and changes that Vermont veterans indicate that they need and they want. Senator Sanders is the former chairman and longtime member of the Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs in Washington. He has spent years of his service in Washington focused on the needs of Vermont veterans and has worked on a number of the issues that the veterans here today have spoken about. Senator has longstanding legislation that we would love to see passed through Congress that would expand access to dental care for all veterans, not simply those who have service-connected or homelessness issues that have been currently the only way that you can access dental care as a veteran. He's also working with Detroit Mercy to expand access to dental care for all Vermonters, which we certainly agree and hope will increase access for Vermont veterans as well. In addition to those issues, he has worked for a long time with the Vermont National Guard to start and then continue funding for the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon Reintegration Program, which has provided a number of important services to members of the Vermont Guard, their families, and veterans. He's very proud of the Vermont Outreach Program through the Vermont National Guard, which has provided significant resources to Vermont veterans and Guard members throughout their time in service. Additionally, right now, Senator Sanders is very focused on supporting the VA and ensuring that VA access within Vermont and nationally maintains at its current level and expands. He has been extremely vocal about cuts to VA and the firing of 83,000 VA employees nationally. We're doing what we can to ensure that those cuts are as limited as possible in Vermont. But we understand that these VA employees are our neighbors. They are Vermonters. Many of them are also veterans. We also know that 70% of all doctors in this country nationally receive some type of training at the VA during their medical training. So when you cut positions at the VA, you hurt all of us when it comes to access to healthcare in the state, which we know is a huge issue. And we are looking to make sure that we do not have any more cuts to the VA nationally and right here in Vermont. Senator Sanders is also very focused on ensuring that we have quality clinics throughout the state. We're working right now at looking at the clinic in Burlington and making sure that it is big enough and has the amount of services that our veterans need, and also the clinic in Brattleboro. So those are just some of the issues that Senator Sanders is working on. We also work as closely as we can with DOD and TRICARE to ensure that they have sufficient coverage in Vermont and that they keep their lists up to date so that Vermonters don't struggle with that access. But welcome Vermonters with military service to contact our office at any time if there's anything that our office can assist with VA benefits or any other federal benefit. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. We really appreciate you coming in and speaking. Now, lastly, the Genicon.
I need to turn this on.
Just flip it up button. There you go.
Thank you. Gonna work that way? So I'd rather not.
Yeah, I think you might have.
Audible? Okay. Okay, so I'm Janet Khan. I came here actually to listen. So it's a surprise to me a little bit that I'm about to speak, but here we go. So I want to say, so I was intensely, actively anti-war during the Vietnam War, but I was also not anti-soldier, not anti-military, and was really appalled at the kind of response that people got when they came back to this country. And so post 9/11 combat, I thought, okay, people are going to be coming back. What can we do to make it a different kind of return than it was post Vietnam? And so I partnered with a friend of mine, a social worker, and we decided that we would create some kind of program that would help people connect back here again, reconnect with themselves post combat, reconnect with their family, reconnect with quiet. And so that's what we decided to do, and that's what we did do. We got initially a small grant from NIMH to work with the local National Guard here to test out whether the kinds of things, some of which are body-based and some of which are mind-based, various techniques people could use, would actually be helpful. And the results of that small study were quite positive. So then we got a larger grant and worked with, I want to say this was designed for veterans and their partners to do. Didn't mean you had to do everything together. It just meant it could be good for the partner as well as for the veteran. Anyway, so here's what I want to, and the way that people access it is either you can get it as a phone app or you can get it online. That's called Mission Reconnect. Connecting with yourself, connecting with your partner, connecting with quiet, connecting with being back here. So let me just say, in the larger study, the results were really quite strong. And what we saw among veterans themselves was, I want to say one other thing. People came back and they came back with physical pain, of course, and a number of people, large number of people came back with traumatic brain injury also. And they also came back with emotional issues. And they were being addressed, it seemed to us, as though they were really separate, distinct things. But in fact, they all affect one another. So we wanted to give a more comprehensive packet of things a person could do. Okay, so the results, what we saw were significantly decreased. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I wasn't thinking I was going to give this talk, so I'll just take your time. But I can make them. But I can make it all available to you. Anyway, so strong decreases in PTSD, in depression, increases in sleep quality, decreases in their sense of perceived stress, increases in resilience, in being able to hang into a conversation longer, increases in being able to feel more collected. And decreases in tension, decreases in irritability, decreases in anxiety,
and depression. And those things were also true for their partners, not all of them related to pain and so forth, but the decreases in tension, irritability, anxiety, and depression for the partners showed up very strongly. So, so I really here, and even mentioning this to you, I came to listen to people talking so that I could think about where could this be helpful here. And that's really what I was listening for. There are some of you I'll probably approach to see whether or not you think it would be beneficial. That is it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, I didn't get notice about this until Monday, and I didn't get a chance to get on the list. I didn't get a chance to send in testimony, so I want to know if I can get 2 minutes at least to address the group.
Sure. Please join us, take the full floor. Yes.
We got like 10 minutes left, and I promise not to take all that.
Yeah, no problem. Please sit down.
So my name is Matthew Fitzgerald. I grew up in.
The microphone.
My name is Matthew Fischer. I grew up in central Vermont. I currently live in Williston. Father of 4. I take care of my 87-year-old mom, my severely disabled daughter. I run a business now that I'm retired 10 years, and I work at JP as the lift operator, the best job I've ever had in my life. People first, party last. I don't have a party. I want people that are going to represent Vermonters. That's why I'm here. I love my state. And I love Vermonters, and we're losing them. I came up with this 1.5-page document, and I can share it with you over electronically if you want to later, but why eliminate tax on Vermont military pensions? Vermont's one of 3 states that fully tax military retirement. Reasons Vermont military veterans, active guard, reserve, military technicians leave Vermont upon retirement. Tax on retirement, high cost of living, grandchildren and children move because it's too expensive to stay here. Cannot afford housing or property taxes. Lack of political balance, increasing liberal politics and policies. It's too cold. They'd rather be rather than snowbirding like my parents did. They changed residency for a lower cost of living and more disposable income. Military pay is not taxed in 47 other states. They're tired of shoveling snow. They're tired of icy roads. Retired active duty soldiers, many enter the military between 18 and 24 years old. And according to the Vermont Department of Labor, tax is one of the main reasons that these veterans do not return to Vermont. The tax on military retirement, high cost of living, lack of well-paying jobs to match the cost of living, lack of housing. Military retirement not taxed is disposable income. Money that stays in Vermont and is spent in Vermont on Vermont businesses and for local services. Military veterans bring the following to our communities. We pay the following taxes if we stay here: property, sales, gas, income on retirement after retirement, employment after retirement. We're small business owners like I am. We have leadership skills, work ethic, community service. We're volunteer firefighters, select board members, school board members, legislators. We have health care, which lowers the cost to future employers. We also have military spouses that bring the following. They've managed homes when their husbands have been deployed or gone. They manage families. They also volunteer or work in the community. We provide a history of service to our nation, state, and local community. A veteran that leaves Vermont or never returns, that pays no Vermont taxes, brings all their disposable income, knowledge, skills, experience, family, commitment to service to their new community and state. Vermont veterans do not expect special treatment. For their service, the sacrifice of their families, and for the Guard and the reservists that are here,
the sacrifices of their employers in a state where it's getting harder and harder to find competent employees that will show up and have skills. Saying thank you for your service is appreciated, but passing legislation that helps keep Vermont veterans or returning veterans here in Vermont is showing you mean it. One of the things I learned when most of my careers in the Guard, I was active. We used to have to recruit soldiers and then retain them. Because after the third or fourth year of their contract was up, we had to, it cost a lot more, it was a lot harder to recruit people than it was to retain them. The best recruiting tool we had was a good job, so someone wouldn't move. I joined the fight for those who can't serve and those who wouldn't. I've been told that we are looked at like we're first responders. That is not even close to true. I've called 12 of my friends who are police officers I served with, and they're willing to put pen to paper, tell you what the differences are. I don't know if this is still a program or not, but Vermont put $500,000 aside a few years ago to pay people $10,000 to move here. I still can't figure that one out. But what I'll tell you, and I don't know if any of you look at things this way, but I'm one of the guys that if someone came through one of these two doors to do harm, I'm going to be between them and you without you asking. And I don't care if you're behind me or not. And I'm sure the other veterans in this room feel the same way. That's how we're trained. That's what's ingrained in us to protect and serve our communities. Party be damned, people first, put the Vermonters ahead. Thank you.
So I want to thank Master Chief Paul Welton for his comment earlier about my mom. One sentence we never heard in our house growing up was, "Wait until your father gets home." All she had to do was look. I want to recognize, Jed, don't leave yet. There are, I think, at least 6 House members that are here in attendance, and I'd like to at least recognize them. Just stand up very quickly and tell us who we are.
Jed Lipsky, Lamoille 1, serve on the Ag and Forestry Committee, also very active in the Rural Caucus and the National Guard and Veteran Affairs Caucus.
Thanks, Jed.
Really appreciate all you being here to testify. Thank you.
Mary Howard.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Mary Howard and I represent Rutland City District 6. And my late husband is a Marine, served in Vietnam. He wanted me to mention I'm a member of the American Legion. And for many years, we had military affairs connected with general housing. So the military is very important to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Good job. So over to the side here, I see at least, we can tell them with their badge numbers. Those are the guys.
My name is Zahn Eastis. I live in Guilford and I also serve the town of Vernon. I did not serve. I was at the very end of the Vietnam War and I got a number in the lottery that didn't get me into service. But my father was a very proud Marine and so very important to me.
My name is Doug Bishop. I represent part of Colchester. I serve on the House Human Services Committee, but also very gladly and proudly serve as member of the caucus that deals with National Guard and Veterans Affairs issues. As Murray's on, I have not served, but had instilled in me from my father who served in the Navy, the pride of military service.
Good afternoon, Zach Harvey, Representative Castleton. I'm on the House Judiciary Committee and just here to listen, to learn, and to thank you for your service.
And Sean Slaney, I'm from Chittenden 7, live in Shelburne. I'm happy to serve on the National Guard and VA caucus. And my dad was in the Navy and my father was and my grandfather was in the Navy. So I'm not in this service, but I'm here doing my service. So
Thank you all for attending.
We got one more.
One more? Oh.
You got the backbenchers over here.
Yeah.
Parsons, Newberry, on the General Housing Committee. Just thank you all for coming here and speaking today. I was unfortunately red flagged due to eye surgeries when I was young. There was plan A, B, and C to join. But here I am today doing it a different way. So thank you for your service.
Ken Goldstein, Northfield, Berlin, State Rep. I'm here for over 7 years, been trying to get this legislation passed all that time. Appreciate everybody's service here, and I hope we finally get this done. And again, thank you for what you did.
And I'll join Ken. I've been here 11 years. Bob works with us as well. Go ahead, Bob.
Can I speak as Bob, maybe then?
Sure.
Bob's the Navy veteran.
I'm not speaking in my capacity as a state employee. And you're probably not going to like what I have to say, but that's okay. I'm speaking, I'm Bob. I'm 20. I'm Bob, 28-year retired Navy veteran. I saw this morning the latest House Ways and Means amendment on Senate Bill 51.
Yep.
I urge any retiree, any veteran, any legislature member to not support that amendment. Right? We are going for another compromise. We're going for another compromise. It's insulting. It's maddening. We have asked yet again, this is my 10th year, we have asked yet again for a clean bill with no restrictions, no income caps, no equity adjustments, no arguments about subjugating parts of the population. This is ridiculous. My argument has always been, other states don't do it. They do it because it's the right thing. Stop doing this. Do not vote for, do not support this amendment to S51. That's all Bob has to say.
Thanks.
Bob might need a new job tomorrow. So.
Yeah, there's much to be discussed, I know. And I know a lot of people feel the way Bob does. For those of you that are not aware, I believe the cap is $125,000 annual income and you would receive a tax exemption. And then there's a added $175,000 a year and it would come with certain gradations of that. Nothing's been passed yet. And I share Bob's feeling in one sense that it should be done because it should be done. But sometimes you have to sort of take what you can get. I'm not saying I agree with that, Bob. I'm just saying that that will be the feeling of many in both the House and the Senate, that it's a path forward. And it's the first time in my 11 years I can see a path forward to at least extending what we have in place now. For those of you that don't know, right now it's $10,000. And you have to choose between that and Social Security, for heaven's sakes. So I don't know where it's going to end up.
Can I speak to what's in Senate Economic Development?
Sure. Do you want this?
Yeah.
You may not need it, or.
For those of you who don't know, this an amendment to our workforce bill is taking up this exact issue. So we're in Senate beginning this in Senate Economic Development, Housing and General Affairs. We oversee workforce in the Senate. And we are taking on military retirement as an incredibly important workforce and recruitment tool, despite what you say. It's good to get people to relocate, as you said. And Bob has already testified, and this will probably be included in our H34 yet. So we'll look for it next week.
I don't think I need a microphone, so we're all set, I think, unless somebody else here wants to add to it. I really appreciate vets that coming out today. It really means a lot. I guess we do have one more.
I just wanted to say that Rep. Austin from Colchester is also here and left just a few minutes ago. So I want to give her credit for being here.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you all.
And if any folks want to hang out and talk to members, we'll hang out for a little bit.
Sweet.